Hello everyone, I am Parikshit Saikia, your Quants and LRDI expert on the Unacademy Plus platform, and welcome today to another exciting session on Unacademy CAT-alyst. In today's session, we are going to talk about the final week, right? The final week to the LRDI revision. How we are going to spend these last 7 days, and they are very, very crucial. Remember, you have put in a lot of effort, a lot of months, probably 5, 6 months, and some of you could be more than a year. So it's equally important that now you're on the verge of crossing that finish line. So you need to ensure that these last 7 days you strategize well. So I'm going to talk about all the best strategies that you can put into play in these last 6 to 7 days. So make sure that you catch me live for the next 15 minutes for this super amazing strategies. But before that, as always, the first thing that I'm going to tell you is give me 5 seconds to ensure that I'm streaming live before we get started with today's session. Perfect. I think we are streaming live and we are good to start. A small notification at the start of the session. The National Scholarship Test is scheduled for this Sunday on Unacademy. Sunday 5 p.m. to 5:40 p.m. It is going to be a sectional test. So make sure that you enroll for it, right? All of you who are not writing the CAT or probably have written the CAT and come back, you can just try out this 40 minutes exam because a lot of vouchers are to be won. A lot of Amazon vouchers. So a lot of prize money involved. So make sure that you enroll and attend this test. Let's get started. Okay. So the final week to the CAT, right, before your grand finale. How to practice LRDI. That's what we're going to talk about. Okay. Now the first part is things that you need to ensure, okay, in this last few days. The first part is, I would say, other factors. When I say other factors, staying motivated and practicing the best practices. Practice, okay, best habits. Best habits, habits which have been scientifically proved to be effective. Now, what do I mean by that? I do not know your CAT slot, right? Some of you would be there in the morning slot, some of you would be in the afternoon slot, and some in the evening slot. These last 6 days, it is very, very important that you practice, okay, in the same time slot as the actual CAT paper. Let's say your CAT paper is in the second slot, okay? So what you need to ensure is, in the last 5-6 days that are now remaining, you get your body and mind accustomed to this time period. So when I say so, I mean you sit non-stop at your home and study for 2 non-stop hours. Same time as your CAT. Right? So when you do this, you need to ensure that 40 minutes is for the verbal, next 40 minutes is for your LRDI, and next 40 minutes is for your quants. Now what I'm telling you here is something that will not only work for the LRDI section, but will work for all the 3 sections. Remember, I keep telling, it has been scientifically proved that your brain and mind needs time to get accustomed and adjusted to something. So if you are practicing in the same time slot as the actual CAT exam, right, you are making your mind accustomed to that time period. So when I say study non-stop for 2 hours, I also mean get your body accustomed. So it could be, if it's your second slot, you'd want to have lunch at a time where you actually have lunch on Sunday, right? Before you go out for your CAT, you'd probably have a 11 a.m. a light meal or a 11:30 a.m. light meal before you actually set forth for your exam, right? I don't know what time you'll have your lunch. Plan, have the same time period, at the same time period have some food, right, these last few days, and then sit continuously for the 2 hours, because again, as I say, the body and the mind needs to get adjusted. Very, very, very important. That's the first part, and I think that is something you all can do with just a bit of modification to your lifestyle, because on Sunday you do not want a surprise. The second thing that I'm going to tell here is, you know what? You need to wear a mask during your exam. You need to wear a mask during your exam, okay? If not for the entire 6-7 days, okay, probably you would not want to do it. You probably laugh at me and say, what is he saying? But you know what? At least on a Thursday and a Friday, this coming Thursday and Friday, minimum for 2 days, minimum for 2 days, okay? Minimum, okay? 2 days. You know what? At least wear a mask and write and practice. Write and practice your LRDI sets. Not only LRDI, verbal as well as quant. Wear a mask, because you know what? You often get suffocated. You feel your mask is tight. You might feel your mask is too low. You might not feel comfortable. But on the exam day, wearing a mask is mandatory. And you do not want such interventions, right? Such interventions or such feeling, a feeling of being uncomfortable on the exam day. So definitely wear a mask and study for at least 2 hours, if not the entire day, at least for a 2-hour slot these last 5 days. Very, very, very important, right? I think I talked about the other factors which are not related to LRDI, but these are the hygiene factors that need to be taken care of before I actually talk about how to practice LRDI in this last 5 days. Definitely keep these 2 pointers in mind. Now let's talk about LRDI. Now let's talk about LRDI, how to practice LRDI in this last week, right? Okay. Now this last week, LRDI, it is very important that you revise, Now how many sets will you revise? I don't know how much time you have kept for yourself. Some of you might be working, but I would say even if you are working these last 5-6 days, you must have taken some sort of leave, right? So when we are talking about 7 days left for the CAT, I would say anywhere between 70 to 100 sets you should try to solve in this last 6-7 days. Remember, today the day has just started, so I am counting even the Sunday, the 23rd today. So 70 to 100 sets that you are going to be targeting to revise in these last 7 days. Next thing, okay sir, from where shall I pick up these 70 sets? As I said, you need to revise. Now there can be 2 sources. There can be 2 different sources. First is your mocks. Here, I would put a word of caution. When I say a word of caution, it is important to understand that if you have never actually revised your mocks, okay, you scored very poorly in your mocks, just 5 marks, 6 marks, you are hardly able to solve your mocks and you have not even bothered to revise, then you should not be practicing the mocks against these last few days. When I say practice, I don't mean giving a new mock. I only and only mean revising the already previously taken mocks. One scenario could be you have already revised once. Very good, that's awesome. But please make sure that you revise one last time before you actually sit to write the CAT on the 29th. Okay, so first source of revision should be your mocks. Second source, I would say the second source would be your traditional DI and LR sets. Traditional DI and LR sets. When I say traditional DI and LR sets, what do I mean here? I mean, you cannot be telling me on the 29th, or you cannot be staring at your fan and just trying to recall what were the concepts on cubes. I hope you have done questions on cubes, right? You have practiced questions on cubes like 2 sides of a cube, opposite sides of a cube are painted red in color. Now, if you have not practiced such a sum for, let's say, the last 3 months or 4 months, it is time that you revise once. Why? Because such questions have been asked many a times, and you know what? A lot of aspirants tend to forget concepts on cubes. Then what concepts aspirants will again forget? You know what? Games and tournaments. Games and tournaments. Very, very, very important that you practice at least 3, 4, 5, 6 games and tournaments questions in these last few days. Why so? Because trust me, over the last 7 to 8 years that I've been teaching, these are 2-3 topics that people tend to find it difficult, and if you have not practiced it a week before your exam, you might not be able to solve it if such a question appears on the exam day. Next, what is the next thing that you need to revise? Networks, roots and networks. Remember questions like this, they will tell you that oil is flowing from one pipeline to another pipeline, right? Such questions, please make sure that you revise. you generally not forget a percentage change pie chart or a percentage change bar diagram. But roots and networks, definitely you forget. And the last one that I overemphasize at this point is, and people are actually scared about it, is at least, at most types. At least, at most. Very favorite. At least how many students have passed a certain class in the year 2015? At least, at most, maximum, minimum type questions. Please make sure that you practice them this week, okay, once before your actual CAT. Now, this is type 1 questions, which definitely need a revision, okay, before the actual D-Day. Before the actual D-Day. I call them type 1 sets. I call them type 1 sets. Next, the type 2 sets that you are going to revise. Remember, this is the last revision that you are doing. You probably will not be getting time to revise the same set once again. Okay. So in case you think there is a note that you want to write, or in case there is a mistake that you repeat every time, and on the Saturday, one day before your exam, you actually want to have a look. Okay. What you can do is, probably you can write it CAT mock exam. You can do it. You can prepare an Excel sheet and mention mock exam 7 set 2. So you know what, a day before your actual exam, you can just open mock exam 7 and go to set 2. Just have a glance, don't have to solve it. Definitely one day before your exam, do not solve it. Okay, do not have to solve, just have a look. And I would say that is a passive way of learning, but that is fine a day before your exam. Okay, so prepare an Excel sheet, because on a Saturday, a day before your exam, it is virtually impossible to have a look at all your pages. You cannot. So if you have some notes, you can just look at those particular sums. Next in type 2, you know what you need to do is, you need to ensure that you have actually not left behind, okay? You have actually not left behind any type of DI caselets. When I say DI caselets, some strange looking DI caselets. Example, a 3D diagram. Do you know how to read such a 3D diagram? Example, I hope you have seen such caselets, right? Where a triangle is given like this, and then there are numbers across all the three sides of the triangle. Please make sure that you actually know how to read such a caselet, because if you do not know how to read this caselet, probably on the exam day, also because of the fear, you would not be able to solve this caselet. Okay, and these caselets are very easy. They have in fact appeared, okay, in the last 2-3 years. These have appeared, okay, and there is a high chance that they might appear again. So the trick is to know how to read a 3D diagram when given in your examination pattern. So please go through your notes, please go through your books, and please make sure that these concepts are clear. Similarly, what you need to understand is a spider web, DI sets, spider web, okay, a sort of spider web DI sets, which are also again very common. Now, why I'm mentioning this, you must be thinking, you already know how to read this bar diagram, right? You don't have to read about this, you don't have to revise this. This is not there for revision. But you know what, a 3D diagram, definitely. A spider web, definitely, because these diagrams, you cannot be doing it first time in your exam, or very, very difficult. So there should not be a condition where you actually regret that I did not remember this and hence I left out this set. That would again be a disaster. So don't do that. Please make sure that you actually revise. Third point. The third point that I want to mention out here is a 4-set Venn diagram. A 4-set Venn diagram has never been asked in the CAT till date. But has it been asked in your mock exams? Definitely yes, many a times. Is it there in any of the books? Yes, most of the books it is there. And you know what? Some of you might have forgotten how to draw the 4-set Venn diagram. If you don't remember how to draw this 4-set Venn diagram, right? I hope you remember now. Something like this. Yes? Remember? This is how you draw a 4-set Venn diagram. Now, you should not be getting confused on the exam day. So, make sure that you take a note that you need to revise at least how to draw this diagram so that you are able to solve on the exam day. Okay. This is type 2 sums that you wish to revise. The last week before your exam, when I say revise, just have a glance, probably one 3D diagram, one spiderweb diagram, one four-set diagram, one games and tournament. Just have a revision, and your target is to solve 70 to 800 sets these last few days. Similarly, the next thing that I want you to revise, okay, I want you to revise is just have a glance at every traditional DI set. Traditional. Now you might be thinking why I am stressing so much on DI and not on LR. LR, the good or the bad part, whether you like it or you don't like it, there might be a surprise on the exam day. There is a puzzle, and that puzzle, there is a probability, there is a good probability that the puzzle you have never solved such a puzzle before, right? You might have never solved. They might come out with some unique puzzle which you might not have never solved. So perfectly fine. Your brain is now molded. It is trained to get adapted. That's one reason for it. But the DI sets, there is very less scope for variation. If I talk about percentage change, the concept remains the same no matter how they give you, whether they give you a bar chart, whether they give you a pie diagram, the concept remains the same. And these are definitely must attempt sets. A pie chart, a bar diagram, a Venn diagram. So make sure that you actually focus on them, and the best way of learning them is through the previous year CAT papers. Previous year CAT papers. You get a lot of traditional DI sets. So when you talk about bar diagrams, a pie chart, a Venn diagram, a line diagram, you go through the previous year CATs and try to solve at least 10 to 15 questions, 10 to 15 sets. That's what I mean, 10 to 15 sets, okay? And then type 4 is, when I say type 4, there is no type 4. If time permits, as I say, if time permits, give some time to your LR sets. LR sets, the typical LR sets, a rectangular sitting arrangement, a linear sitting arrangement, a circular sitting arrangement, distributions, selections, right? So such things, if time permits, you give, because generally the human mind doesn't forget such puzzles, right? So if you have practiced them, you are comfortable, and chances are less that you would have forgotten, rather like a games and tournaments, or probably a four-set Venn diagram which you would have actually forgotten how to solve. Now, having talked about all these, the last 2-3 minutes, I want to talk about the time, the importance of time, okay? So whenever you are practicing these last 6-7 days, LRDI, okay, practice in slots of 40 minutes. In slots of 40 minutes. Very, very, very important. Very important. 40 minutes, close your WhatsApp, put your mobile in the flight mode, tell your other people in the house that you don't disturb me for 40 minutes, and I'm going to come out after 40 minutes and talk to you, right? So study in slots of 40. When I say 40, I don't mean study only for 40 minutes. I mean 40 minutes study. Take a 10-minute break. Go and probably listen to a song, talk to a friend, talk to your parents, eat something, and then come back and sit for another 40 minutes. 40 minutes non-stop. Now, in these 40 minutes, what I would definitely suggest, okay, a very sincere suggestion, take 5 to 6 sets for revision. 5 to 6 sets for revision. Okay, so take any 5 or 6 sets which you know, you must have decided, right? These last few days, I'm going to practice from so and so PDF, or from so and so book, or from so and so mock paper. You take 5 or 6 sets, okay, start a timer of 40 minutes. And then out of the 5 or 6 sets, you probably will not be able to do all the 5 or 6. You can try to solve 3 to 4 sets. 3 to 4 sets. So emphasize on this. 3 to 4 sets should not be in serial order. When I say 3 to 4 sets, I mean out of the 6, you are gonna select 3 to 4 easy sets. 3 to 4 easy sets. Please make sure that you study with a timer on. You don't want anything without a timer to be done at this point of time, because the focus is not only on knowledge but as well as on speed, okay, as well as on speed. Also you need to make sure, okay, whenever you are doing that, after the timer has ended, you probably take a 5, 10, 15 minutes break and come back and solve the remaining 2 or 3 sets which you could not solve out of this 5 and 6, out of the 5 or 6, before you actually move to quants or DILR. Okay, so definitely study with a timer on these last few days, and I would sincerely suggest that first 60 seconds Have a look at all the sets. Have a look. I don't say read the sets. I only say have a glance. Look at set 1. Okay, it is a Venn diagram. Look at set 2. Probably it is a games and tournaments. Look at set 3. Probably it is a linear arrangement. You know what? When you look at the sets, at the end of 1 minute, make a conscious decision which set you are gonna attempt first. Remember, the first 10 minutes are very crucial, because if you go down in the first 10 minutes and if you are not able to solve, trust me, with the timer on, with the actual CAT paper going on, you will actually get nervous and you might panic. So the first 10 minutes, it is very, 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 very important that you pick up a set which you are able to solve. And if you start well, your confidence level increases, the fear factor decreases, and the next 30 minutes, right? The last 30 minutes would automatically go well. So first 60 seconds, make it a point to have a glance. Remember, I'm not saying read. No one can read all the 6 sets in 1 minute. Have a glance at the sets and then decide which one you want to start with, so that you are able to start with a set which is easy. Remember, in none of the exams in the CAT, all the sets have been difficult. Never has been the case, and I'm sure it will not be the case even this year. There will definitely be at least 1 or 2 easy sets, and you need to pick up that easy set at the start to give you a very good start, right? All that starts well ends well. Okay, I think that's it for today. That's it for today. Thank you so much. I hope I have made sense out of the preparation for this last week. If you have liked the video, it's a sincere request from my end to please hit the like button, because that motivates me to make more and more videos. Thank you so much. Until the next time I see you, keep studying, stay safe, and I'm sure you're going to come out with flying colors in the CAT. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead. Bye for now.